It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, and it has been raining for 2 months straight now, which is nice. And that is why I'm going to go to the movies to see Gaspar Noé's new film, Climax. Let's go! Okay, moving to the beautiful ArcLight Cinemas. Almost got run over by a scooter. Almost got run over by a skateboarder.
Los Angeles has some straight up scary neighborhoods.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. I've been watching Gaspar Noé's films for about 10 years now. Over 10 years, let's say 15. And he's sort of like the French Lars von Trier. His films are always very meaningful, but sometimes come off as a bit too pretentious. I really enjoyed Irreversible. I think that was one of the one of the most darkest and powerful rape and revenge films I've ever seen in my life. And I also really loved Enter the Void, which I think is visually one of the most stunning films that was ever made. But I hated his last film, Love. It was just like this huge boring orgy you would have never wanted to be invited to. Jesus, Hollywood's loud today. So, besides that, I'm really wondering what this film is going to be, and if it's going to live up to his older movies, which I enjoyed a lot more than his latest film, Love, as I mentioned before. So, let's check Climax out.
More myself when I dance than any other moment in the day.
I dance to become someone else.
The reason why I dance ultimately it lies in the fact that I love it. It's my being is dance. So that's why I do that.
So, I just saw Gaspar Noé's Climax, and that made me feel very uneasy, and it was very disturbing. In a good way, though, in a really good way. The man's back to form. Give me 30 minutes to process this, and then we'll review this in Glendale. That's where I'm going. Yeah, sometimes these come with me reviews. You can't really do them right away. I really need to process this one for 30 minutes, then we're doing it. See how pleasant it is here after this experience? Okay, so Climax is a film that takes place in one location in just one night, and we see an event where a couple of kids are either at a rave or at a dance workshop. I haven't really figured it out yet. But anyway, the film opens up with these kids introducing themselves on a VHS screen. VHS, because this movie is taking place in 1996. So this movie doesn't have any digital devices whatsoever, and the 1996 element really seems realistic too. After that, we get a huge one long shot of these kids hanging out in the location where this is taking place. They're dancing, they're having fun, and this is also where the movie really takes a lot of time to establish its characters and the situation we're in. The thing is, a lot of people are going to get very impatient with the first 30 to 40 minutes because Gaspar Noé this time really takes his time to get everybody to know the characters before the situation that these characters are faced with steps in. So after we have this hanging out sequence, we get the sequence where the kids are just talking with each other. A lot of edits after this long continuous take. And after they're talking to each other, we get yet another establishing scene where they are just simply dancing. And they're great dancers. It's if you're a fan of dancing, this is some great eye candy for you, because especially the camera is on top and you're seeing everything from a bird's eye view, and it's actually a very fashionable shot. And then we're midway half the movie, all the characters have been established, and this is where the title sequence sets in. And then you realize with what kind of music you're dealing with in this project. You actually have bands like Daft Punk and Aphex Twin on the soundtrack. Even the Rolling Stones are part of this. It's like the music is the shit. And after the title sequence is over, shit seriously hits the fan. Because these kids notice that their drink are spiked with LSD. And I know what you're expecting. You're probably expecting this to be this visual experience with a lot of effects and stuff, somewhere where Enter the Void was. But no, you get the exact opposite. You get to see these kids on a drug trip in one continuous 40-minute, I kid you not, 40-minute take. And you're not seeing what these kids are hallucinating. No, you're seeing the pure, drunk, naked, blunt drug experience these kids are seeing. You're seeing them through a sober perspective, and you're seeing how these kids are totally fucking up on drugs. And this is like where it all sets in. This movie is just completely full of despair, violence, sex, and death. And it's not even that gory. It's not really gory at all. There is some blood, of course, in it, but it is more what gives the sense of dread in the movie is just like how lost and how confused and how at the end of their limits and at the end of their general perspective on life these kids suddenly are, where the acid kicks in and they can't deal with it. Some of them get very violent, some of them just get very helpless, some of them are more focused and on point than the others, and some other ones just completely lose it to the core. And what makes it even like a little heavier, and especially where the squeamish people here watching won't be really liking this, is there is a child involved in this. And yes, this child experiences hell, just like everyone in this movie experiences hell. And it is an incredibly intense film. It is like not as artsy and not as pretentious as most of Gaspar Noé's films. But don't worry, the artsy shit is still there. It is definitely still there. And when it comes in, it blows you away. It is incredibly well told because since this is mostly a one-take film, you feel like you are part of this rave. You feel you are part of all this bullshit that is going on, and it somehow really disturbs you, puts you on the edge, and makes you feel very, very uneasy. The only sole thing I have... Oh yeah, and the acting the kids do, especially because this is a one continuous take, is actually pretty phenomenal. These actors are very young, and bringing such a good performance is actually pretty incredible. And not on all parts, but let's say 80% of the actors really deliver well here. And think of this. And by the way, consider that most of the dialogue in this movie is completely improvised, and the script is generally just 5 pages long. That's pretty crazy for such a creative and intense film like this. The only thing I also have to criticize just a tiny, tiny little bit is the camera at the end of this movie. You know the beginning of Irreversible, if anyone remembers? It's pretty much like that. You get this floating camera, not as badly as in Enter the Void, but it is very nauseating, especially the last 10 minutes of the movie. The camera is completely upside down. Let's edit it like that. Imagine me talking to you guys like this for 10 minutes straight. Especially on the big screen, it gets very nauseating and you get very queasy. But I understand what Gaspar Noé was going for. He wanted to show that the world of these kids is upside down. And that's why the camera is upside down. And it's actually pretty beautiful because a lot of people are lying on the floor. And the camera is upside down, and so it seems like they're all high in the sky. And especially considering that some of these kids are dead. Pretty disturbing shit. What else I have to give like amazing compliments to in this film is the sound design. Oh my fuck, that was beautiful. Sometimes you have like certain sounds that are taking place in the actual movie, like somebody screaming, like somebody slapping somebody, like somebody fighting, and it is very weird how all of a sudden a scream fades away and turns into a sound that is part of the beat and the music that is being played in the background. Wow, especially in a one-take shot. How the fuck they did that, I have no idea, but this is like some of the greatest sound design I've probably ever seen in a movie, because the sounds of what is really taking place between the kids and the music that is happening in the background really collide and really just make one huge sound. So yes, all pretentiousness aside, yes, making sound design like that is very pretentious, but it fits and it's really good. So if you're in the mood for something that will leave you totally devastated and disturbed and worried about taking drugs, please watch this movie and don't take any acid.
Ce qui ne me tue pas me rend plus forte.